The board would like to welcome those in attendance to the Public Works and Safety meeting for March 31st, 2022. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Perez.
Any conflict of interest statements?
No, sir.
No. Approval of the minutes of the meeting of March 24th, 2022.
I recommend we approve those minutes.
And I'll concur. There are no bid openings today. Matters from department heads or their representatives. Mr. Button.
A grand welcoming to you and to Councilman Werpel, who is in attendance today. I regret that we did not have a notification letter to the board for a road restriction that will start on Monday, and we've been pushing the contractor to get us the notification. This is for our Hammond Avenue project between Sibley and Russell Street. It's the transformative downtown Hammond project that we're doing. There will be closing the southbound lanes, pushing all of the traffic into the northbound lanes, so there'll be one lane in each direction. All of the approaches, which there are 2 approaches from the west, will be closed. As you know, Munich Court is already closed as a result of the Hammond National Building demolition. Russell Street will be closed. I've notified HAST, so they're aware that any traffic to the school will have to come from State Line. I notified Dr. Egan recently. And so that project starts on Monday in earnest. We have an action later about Kennedy Avenue, but this is the start of those projects where we'll do lane restrictions and demolition. And I guess Rimbach is in there too. Rimbach is also going to be closed west of Holman.
Is there a reason for the sudden notice that they're closing on Monday, or?
No, there's no.
Rimbach's going to be closed south, west of Holman.
Yes.
All of them.
There is.
So how long is the stretch we're talking about? Did you said Sibley?
Sibley to Russell, to and through Russell. So it's 3 blocks long, but it's in the heart of downtown. We had a pre-construction meeting yesterday with the contractor. It's simply I didn't get a notification from them in time for this meeting, and so I need to let the board know that this project's moving forward, and it's at my request that we notify. If we get something official in writing yet today, then we'll make sure that official comes through. But I would ask that the board approve that those 2 lane closures for starting Monday for probably until June, and then they'll switch phases. So it's going to be several months that the southbound lanes will be closed.
That was my last question. Till when? So June, possibly.
Yeah, probably right around the 4th of July. They'll probably make the switch. Is sort of what I'm thinking. That's usually what happens. They'll get half the road done. Takes them up till about the 4th of July. But they haven't declared that exactly yet.
Okay. All right. You good?
Yep.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to approve Mr. Button's request.
And I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other department head or representative? Mr.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President and Board. Here on behalf of the Inspections Department, Mr. Kearney. Also, I think Councilman Werpel wants to be heard on this matter. It has to do with 2331 169th Street. This came about as a result of a hoarding situation. My understanding is it's a townhome. I've got some photos
2331
for the board. If I could present these. It's a shared, I think there's a shared wall, 2 townhomes next to each other along 169th Street across from Purdue Northwest. There was a hoarding situation there. It's become evident that as a result of the hoarding situation, the neighbor that shares the wall has become affected by that situation, and the Inspections Department would like to declare it an emergency and get an emergency order to repair pursuant to the Indiana Unsafe Building Act 36799, and allow him to abate immediately the nuisance that is occurring as a result of the hoarding situation. I don't know if
You know
Mr.
who the
Kearney
owner
wants.
is?
Mr. Miller is deceased.
Oh, he was the owner.
He was the owner, correct. And there's a treasurer's report at the end of those photos, but I'll let Mr. Kearney talk about it. And I think Councilman Werpel wants to be heard as well.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
This was a result of a welfare check. The gentleman owner was on our premises for some time before the welfare check. Situation for fire department to get the recovery was obviously very difficult. There was a smell at the time, and it's obviously going to get worse and worse as it gets warm. So I'm asking to declare an emergency so we can bring in a company to come in and do the actual cleanup, get all the debris and everything out of there. Someone like a Serve Pro or something like that. I want to start entertaining numbers, costs.
It's a city cost?
This will be, it'll kind of fall under demolition, emergency demolition type costs. And so the statute allows us to, if the board would declare it an emergency, you're actually, Kelly, as the enforcement authority under the act, has the ability to declare it an emergency. We just like to have it ratified by the board as the hearing authority on these matters.
Okay.
So I don't know if Councilman Werpel, do you need anything, or you want to?
Just the only thing I'll add is I got a call from the lady last night, and she's the one that found the body. Apparently, there's a brother in Florida that wants nothing to do with this property, and it's the smell. Yeah. And she's rents from a respectable landlord, and this guy owned the property next door, and it's like no fault of hers, but she's got to smell a dead body, night and day. And what she's afraid of is, like, if we wait too long, summer's coming and it's just going to intensify.
I agree.
And I approached these two. They said that there's a way we could do this, and it's like, I would just like to resolve it for this woman and her landlord.
Okay.
All right.
And so the other thing I just want to mention on the record is that I've asked Mr. Kearney and his department to get at least 2 quotes for the work, and he said he would do that. So we can report back if you want to set it for status for like 3 weeks or 2 weeks, but we'd like the board to kind of affirm I guess what I would request is the board to affirm the inspections department declaration of this as an emergency to order to repair.
I just want to note also that typically we've been in these situations before, but it's typically a single-family home. This is a kind of a unique situation where we're asking for emergency clean up because it is a shared wall and it's affecting the other tenant.
Okay.
Do we need to set it for status, or are we?
Up to the board. I'd leave it up to the board. I mean, if you want Mr. Kearney to report back. If you don't, we're fine with not having it status.
I don't have any
Yeah,
problem
if
with
there's
this.
any hiccups, come back to us.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it will be here next Thursday. If there's a situation, if I can get somebody in there by the end of the week, or beginning of the next week, I'd like to do that.
Okay.
But if we want, I'll definitely have a status for you next Thursday.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to approve the emergency order to repair for 2331 169th Street.
And I'll concur. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Any other department head or representative? Okay, item A, correspondence received from City Engineer Dean Button recommending the approval of the agreement for professional services with Enviroforensic for the George Lake remediation investigation in the amount of $93,787.20 submitted for approval.
Good morning again to the board. So this is an agreement with Enviroforensics to do a study and investigation on the North Basin of George Lake. There was a significant amount of lead and other contaminants that have entered into the lake over decades of pollution, and also some findings by the Indiana Department of Environmental Management of some plastics going into the lake from the Polygon facility. And so this will help us characterize the volume of the problem and do some sediment analysis and set forth a plan to do the remediation of the lake bottom. The funds were being used is American Rescue Plan Act funds. that were set aside for the Robertsdale remediation area. We have $4 million that the Common Council and the mayor set aside for remediation in Robertsdale. This would qualify for that work. And that's about all I have. I don't know if
Okay, and just for the record, the city controller and the mayor have both signed off on the work to be done.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will then make a recommendation to approve Mr. Button's request.
And I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, correspondence received from City Engineer Dean Button recommending the approval of the agreement for professional services with Nice Engineering for the Florida Avenue Design Project from Orchard Drive to 175th Street in the amount of $18,520 submitted for approval.
Thank you. Funds for this project were also set aside from the American Rescue Plan Act for the Florida Avenue Development Project. Were approved by the city controller and the mayor. During the course of design, Nice Engineering has determined that the property corners for the laid-out subdivision were never properly established in the field, and therefore it's difficult to determine the exact lot lines for the purposes of selling of the parcel. The city is in the midst of, well, Senate went out for an RFP for developing of the subdivision, so that's in progress right now. And the city contracted with Nice Engineering to do the design of the roadway and infrastructure for that project. So we need this retracement survey to be completed and the lot lines to be reestablished in order to properly sell the parcels. I would recommend your approval.
Good. Okay. I will make a motion then to approve the agreement for professional service with Nice Engineering.
And I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, correspondence received from City Engineer Dean Button recommending the approval of the agreement for professional services with Consolidated Claims Management, LLC, for the George Lake Remediation Cost Recovery Services in the amount of $10,000 submitted for approval.
This sort of goes along with item A. The consultant who works very closely with EnviroForensics has contacts with folks that can help us find additional sources of funds to pay for not only perhaps the work to do the investigation, but also the overall remediation. They have offered to do this service for us in an amount not to exceed $10,000. They think it'll probably take more, but they're willing to hold their cost at $10,000 to help us find sources of money to cover the cost of the remediation. This is at the time being covered by the American Rescue Plan Act funds that were set aside for the Robertsdale remediation. It's been approved by the city controller and the mayor. I'd ask your approval.
Good. Okay, we'll make a motion, or excuse me, a recommendation to approve Mr. Button's request.
And I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, correspondence received from Chief of Police William Short requesting that officers Daniel Persek and Chad Thompson be promoted to the rank of second-class patrolman effective March 19th, 2022, and the petition for retirement from Sergeant Michael Hamer, who has served the citizens of Hammond for 26.5 years, submitted for approval.
I will make a recommendation to approve Chief Short's request.
And I'll concur. He wasn't able to be malleable, huh?
Nope, not at all.
Wow. Item E, correspondence received from Milestone requesting road closures on Kennedy Avenue from 169th Street to 164th Street beginning April 4th, 2022, and lasting approximately 3.5 months, and permission to restrict traffic on north side of Chicago Street for the Phase 2 traffic plan, closing Toll and Cameron one at a time beginning April 4th, 2022 for approximately 1 week.
Two separate actions. Milestone North is the paving contractor, our prime contractor for the two projects, so that's the reason why they're tied together. Kennedy Avenue is the reconstruction of Kennedy Avenue. The project's being funded by American Rescue Plan Act funds. The contractor, Milestone, was the low responsive and responsible bidder for which this board approved their agreement. They're going to start the work Monday, so traffic control will be set up. You'll notice that northbound Kennedy will be diverted to 169th and north to Parish, then west on 165th back to Kennedy. That's the proposed detour. It's been reviewed by engineering, and we would recommend your approval on that action. The second action is a restriction of Toll and Cameron, but not at the same time, to do water main connections as part of the overall project. So they just need the north approaches to Chicago at Toll and Cameron closed to make those connections. And we have reviewed this request and recommend your approval.
So just for the record, Kennedy's entirely closed.
No, you'll have southbound will be open.
One side.
One lane, one direction, one-way traffic will be closed. We are working with the contractor for the second phase of the project to keep the detour exactly as planned and just move the southbound traffic into the northbound lane, but we have to do some railroad coordination with Norfolk Southern to have the appropriate gates at southbound Kennedy at the Norfolk Southern tracks, because there is no gate there now. So we need temporary gates and their permission to tie to their system to do that. But we think that that's the best way to handle the traffic in the area. It's not ideal, but this is a very important project, and it's narrowing the roadway in order to accommodate the change that's been requested by the businesses and by the administration.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to approve Milestone's request and also for the street restrictions for Toll and Cameron.
I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item F, correspondence received from Jennifer Liddell requesting an additional residential sign to be placed at the post near the college parking lot exit in front of 2425 New York Avenue.
Mr. President, yes, this is a good opportunity for me to bring up the news that I think most people know, which is that the ordinance was passed by the council last Monday, just Monday, that empowers the Board of Works to do signage, kind of officially, not just in a temporary basis. So I kind of wanted to talk about like process, and I know Mr. Margraf spoke at that, as did I. When something like this happens, well, I guess on a residential only, there's a different ordinance, but I thought it best to just chat a little bit. So, one, we need to make sure that we give the council, any action the board takes, the council gets 7 days notice. So Linda will send a letter out immediately on Thursday, letting the council know of the action that was taken. And then at the following meeting, I think we should make our, if there's any action, it would be final then at the following meeting, because that'll be 7 days. On this specific instance, however, I guess my first question would be whether or not the board knows if it has already passed residential signage on that. And this is just because she says an additional.
I would not know if we have.
Yeah.
And these may have been there for some time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we need to follow the ordinance first, because I think the Board of Works is not supposed to take any action on residential only parking until it notifies the council. So why don't we defer that? In the meantime, if we could send it over to, where would it go? Public Works or Engineering?
Yeah.
Public Works?
To Gary.
To see if there's already one out there, and then I would just, Linda, follow up with her to see if she already went before the board or if we have a record of it going before the board, because you have to get like your neighbor's petition and everything and follow
Setting
that.
a date for the defer. Are we setting a date, Kev?
I think we can defer it just for a week and
Okay.
look into it. So Linda will look into that, okay?
Going to Public Works, going to Public Works, right?
Yeah. April 7th? Okay, I'm going to make a recommendation then to defer this to next week's meeting, April 7th, and to forward it to Public Works so that they have a chance to check on the other sign that's present already.
I'll concur. Okay. Item G, correspondence received from St. Margaret Mary Church requesting street closures to hold their Easter processions on Sunday, April 10th, 2022, Friday, April 15th, 2022, and Sunday, April 17th, 2022, with attached times and routes. Mr. Klein, would you know anything about these at all?
No, I wasn't aware it was 3 dates, Mr. President. I would just ask if you do approve this, to have them forward to me so I can line up everybody. So, do they want, is it all 3 days? Correct?
It appears they'll have a Palm Sunday procession,
Okay.
and Friday the 15th, that's what, Good Friday?
Good Friday, yeah. And then Easter
Obviously
Sunday,
on
correct?
Easter.
Okay.
Have we done these before? Have we?
We've done the one on Easter Sunday, but I don't remember doing them the other ones either, Chief. So I will check into it, and then once you approve it, I'll make sure we get it lined up.
I mean, I'm trying 149th, Hoffman, Linden, just a rectangular,
Around the church?
kinda, that's what it looks like with a few blocks added in, you know, from the
Okay.
church to Bishop Knoll,
Okay,
basically,
okay.
and back.
I can handle that, sir. Don't you approve
Forward
it?
it to you?
Yes, sir. Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to approve the dates for St. Margaret Mary Church and to forward it to Donnie Kalina for his review and expertise. You're welcome.
I'll concur with that. Okay, page 2. Item H, correspondence received regarding 2 dangerous intersections. 1, Cleveland and Tapper, and 2, Conkey and Rhodey.
Just received this from a resident. I'd requested it be sent to engineering to take a look at it. Also, Linda, it'll be part of our letter to the council. I'm not asking for any action at this time, just refer to engineering.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to forward that request to engineering for their review and recommendation.
And I'll concur. Item I, correspondence received requesting a rental registration hearing. 2 weeks, okay.
Okay, I will recommend then that we set that for April 14th, 2022.
I'll concur. Matters from board members. Mr. Long, anything?
No, sir.
Nothing here. Okay. Moving right along, item 9, new business. A, request for advertising dates of April 14th, 2022 and April 21, 2022, with a bid opening for May 5th, 2022 for 964 Summer Street, AKA 5614 Howard, rear 1244 Indiana Street, 4712 Holman Avenue, 5213 Holman Avenue, and 2405 Calumet Avenue.
These are some of these are city properties, various requests, and some are actually demolitions that the board has affirmed, so we would just request to go out to bid.
Okay, then I will recommend that we approve the advertising dates and bid opening date.
And I'll concur. Item B, resolution authorizing the City of Hammond to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Housing Authority of the City of Hammond relating to the payment for garbage services and pickup and supporting agreement.
Mr. President, this was a request through the Controller's Office and Hammond Housing. It was kind of discovered that fees needed to be set forth for garbage pickup within their different housing authority properties throughout the city, and this accomplishes that. I've worked with Mr. Jositis, who's the attorney for the Housing Authority Board, and I believe you'll see before you a intergovernmental that was signed by them on the 28th at their board meeting. This is the mere resolution that allows us to comply with the statute to set this up. I'd request its approval.
And then we'll excuse me, yes, okay. I will make a recommendation to approve the intergovernmental agreement.
And I'll concur. Item C, right-of-way permit submitted for approval from Engineering Department. Thumbs up from Mr. Gordish.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to approve the right-of-way permits.
And I'll concur. Item D.
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Mr. Smith.
Could we go back to item A? I just want to make sure, I don't know if this is a typo on the agenda.
Back to where?
I'm sorry, item 9A.
9A.
Yes. I don't know if there's a typo on the agenda or a typo in my email to Linda, but Mr. Button advised me that it should be 4714 Hammond Avenue. So I just want to make sure that that's corrected.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay. 4714 Holman Avenue. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Item D, rental registration for the properties located at number 1, 6124 Garfield Avenue, 1457 Shell, 4432 Torrance Avenue, 2 units, 2131 Sherman, 3928 Cameron, and 838 Truman Avenue.
Good morning.
6124 Garfield.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this property address we have owned by Mr. and Mrs. Patterson. How you doing, Ms. Patterson? All right. So currently, we have the Pattersons owning the property since 2010. The last time the property was registered as a rental was in 2012. There were affidavits to account for their daughter occupying the property from 2013 to 2015. However, the last affidavit submitted was in 2017. Therefore, it looks like we have no documentation to account for 2018, 19, 20, or 21.
She was still there. She just came back home.
Got it.
I just rented it out 3 months ago.
So again, all the years that Mr. Farrell just spoke to, you're saying that your daughter lived
Yes.
there the entire time?
Yes,
Okay, we'll just explain to the board what happened to the affidavits being, is that something that needs to be filed on a yearly basis, Nick?
Correct. The affidavits is an application for an exemption to the rental registration. So those would take the place of the annual rental registration
I
requirement.
didn't know it had to be done every year.
But if that's the case, she can submit the affidavits to account for the years that her daughter was occupying the property to catch up the documentation, and then register the property every year, as a rental as long as the tenant's in there.
So I just want to make it clear that when you fill out the affidavit initially for your family member, you just assumed that from that point forward,
Yeah.
that would just carry over until?
I didn't know I had to go every year and do it.
So do I need to waive any late, just as long as she,
Yeah, I mean, we are going to
Supplies the-
request that you fill out the affidavits for those years that Mr. Farrell speaks to, so we have a paper trail
All right.
of the property.
And then I bring it down here, or
To the ground floor, code enforcement department.
And how many years are we talking, Nick, for the affidavits? 3 or 4, right?
When did she move out?
she moved out
2021, 5.
just before Christmas.
It was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, right?
We'd need,
So
Yeah.
what we've done in the past on these, at least when we go to court with people, is they can just fill out one and put at the top, especially if it's been her daughter the whole time, they just put at the top right the years, 2017 through 2021.
Oh, that's fine.
And then they just fill out one sheet. So but you understand, ma'am, you got to fill out
Yeah.
one per year,
Yeah.
right? Before April 15th, turn it in.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
And now, well, not anymore, because now it's rented.
Right.
So now it's $5 and you did a rental registration form. Wait a minute.
Okay, so then I'm going to make a recommendation, ma'am, that you complete the necessary paperwork, and then you realize you have to pay the $5 for
Yeah.
2022. Okay? We won't apply a late fee as long as you supply that paperwork that's needed, okay?
All right.
That's my recommendation.
And I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. $14.57 Shell.
all right, Ms. Carrasco?
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so it looks like she's owned the property since September 17th of '21. It's never been registered prior, so it would seem that the property previously was occupied by the owner. And then when Ms. Carrasco purchased the property, you did have a tenant move into the property, right, and it's occupied as a rental? Okay. The only thing we would request as well is that I did notice the homestead tax exemption is still applied to the property. I understand it's like a, 2021 payable 2022, so she could just fill out the removal form. That way we can submit that to Lake County to get that adjusted appropriately.
You understand the homestead exemption?
Yes, I do, and I understand why it's being removed.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to waive the late fee for 2021. Okay. So Nick, I'm going to waive the late fee for 2021. So my recommendation is to waive the late fee for 2021, and ma'am, you have to complete the homestead removal form that they spoke of.
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
And I'll concur. I don't think she heard us say the word malleable.
Nope.
Didn't hear us, man. Okay. Okay, that was easy. 4432 Torrance Avenue, 2 units.
Mr. Oliveira? All right, how you doing, sir? All right. So with this property, Mr. Oliveira is the only listed owner of the property as far as Lake County is concerned. There was a recent inspection to verify that the second floor at this property was vacant. Mr. Oliveira is contending that his aunt is currently and has occupied the property. So we're here for 2020 and 21, as the last rental registration was in 2019. So he would owe for the rental registrations for his aunt occupying the property because that would not qualify as an immediate family member under the rental registration exemption allotments. So we're here for 1 unit for 2020 and 2021. And then as far as the vacant unit is concerned, you can submit an affidavit to account for that because there will be a Board of Works file created to bring in front of the board for the removal of the second floor based on the inspection results that were discovered by the district inspectors.
So you've owned a property for how long, sir?
Oh, around 30 years.
30 years. Can you explain to the board for 2020 and 2021?
All I can say is this was COVID, and I wasn't going anywhere really. So that was the only thing.
Prior to 2020, Nick,
Yeah, it was registered.
okay. Okay.
This is for that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then I'm going to make a recommendation to waive the late fee for both years. Sir, I would like to point out that we usually only do that one time, so just make sure in the future that you get in somehow and pay that.
Okay, another thing is that I had filed an appeal, and I have another court date on April 7th. Do I still go to that one?
I'm unaware.
I got to show you the letter.
We acted on it before?
I don't know if that would be us.
Here it is.
It was someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is filed through the Superior Court. So this is the City Board of Public Works and Safety hearings. What were the charges on that? Just an inspection?
Yeah, inspection.
Okay.
I filed it here, though.
Yeah, you're fine. As soon
Yeah.
as you, the fact that the inspection was performed, that citation would be dismissed then at that point. That's a citation for court.
Okay.
So yeah, you won't have to pen this. Make sure you talk to Chris.
Okay.
So, sir, you can register at the end of today's meeting if you'd like to, and then also you have to supply Nick with the paperwork that he needs for the other unit, okay?
Okay.
Okay?
So I have to go downstairs and...
Yeah, same time after the meeting. We'll get you that citation, okay?
Your explanation was quite malleable, John. She's not listening.
No, she's paying attention to what's going on over there.
I'm going to do a John Cena on her. Hey. So, okay. 2131 Sherman.
Good morning.
Morning.
That was only for 1 unit, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
both,
yeah, yeah.
both
Yeah.
years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Brazula owned the property since February 8th of 21. So we're here for 2021. It looks like there are no other issues pending except the failure to register the property for this year, or for last year, as a new owner.
Okay. Any other properties that you own in Hammond?
I do own other 2 properties.
And so, not registering for last year.
I forgot to check on this one because I didn't rent it until June. So I thought that I had to wait until the new term because the other 2 properties I always pay on time and register them every year.
Okay. I'm going to caution you, just like Mr. Long will, that, you know, as a business owner, I mean, these are businesses. I mean, it's a business, right?
Yes.
And so we would expect you to adhere to your responsibility in regards to this as you do your tenants paying their rents on a monthly basis. That's fair, right? Okay.
Yeah, mid-year purchases, as long as the new owner brings in a copy of the lease.
Yeah.
Within 30 days of the purchase, then they can register for the regular rate. So even if it's after the required date.
No, I get that. I get that. Okay.
Okay, then my recommendation then is to waive the late fee. Sir, you can register at the end of today's meeting. And as the president was saying, we usually only do this one time, so keep that in mind going forward, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 3928 Cameron.
Sorry.
So it looks like Ms. Garcia has owned the property since October 29th of 2021. As there's evidence of individuals occupying the property at that time, and there's also a homestead tax exemption still being applied to the property. So I do have the homestead removal form in which we can have Ms. Garcia fill out and return back to us to have that appropriately adjusted, after the meeting.
So we're looking for 2021 or just 2022?
2021. If there's 30 days within the year and
Oh,
the time was occupied,
okay, I got you. Purchased in October, did I hear you right? Okay, good.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
What happened in 2021?
The purchase date October 29th of 2021. The seller asked for a 30-day extension before removing from the premises because he was leaving the country. So he didn't leave till end of November, and it was not occupied in December. So he didn't rent it out till February of this year, which is when I registered it.
Okay, then do we need to, or do we need to even charge the fee for?
In that event, then, yes, you would only have to be required to register in 2022.
Okay.
But we go based off water records, so if if there's consumption indicating somebody's occupying the property, we can only assume that it's the tenant or the new purchaser, so. Then she would only owe it for 2022. We would still request that she submit the homestead removal, yeah.
Okay. Then, ma'am, my only recommendation is going to be that you need to complete the homestead removal form, which he has today. You understand that, correct?
Yes.
And obviously, we 2021, you don't have to worry about. You just have to register for 2022.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Did we?
I'll recommend that, so
Okay.
that's my recommendation. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if you did concur or not. But,
And I'll concur.
oh, we're not doing anything, sorry. 0.
Okay, 838 Truman.
Mr. Diaz? Yes, sir. All right.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
It looks like Mr. Diaz has owned the property since October 23rd of 20. However, it looks like the final electric and gas reconnects and water were not approved for turn on until May of 21. There was an interior inspection performed, and there was some work required, and therefore we would be here for 2021 as a rental property.
Was there somebody in the property last year?
Yes.
Oh, there was.
I didn't rent it out till June, July last year.
You have other properties?
Yes, sir.
Any reason why this one missed?
It was
radar?
just with the pandemic going on, I mean, we finished it, a little tired, just forgot, really,
Okay. So we're looking for just 21, Nick?
Correct. Yeah, 2021 was one
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Diaz, I'm going to recommend that we waive the late fee for 2021, and I'm sure you heard me say it a couple times.
I got you.
We only do that one time, okay, so keep that in mind.
And I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything further, Nick?
After the next one.
Oh, okay. All right, moving on to old business, item 10. Letter A, status, 847 117th Street.
Mr. President, Board, you know this property, it's the old Rupp Library up in Robertsdale. I don't know if anyone's present here today, no? Mr. Kearney spoke with the gentlemen that are rehabbing it, and at this point, the request is going to be to ask the board to waive the bond, because apparently that's a little bit of a holdup. They have done some cleanup. I know I've talked to Mr. Krasinski, because that's up in his neighborhood, and he said that they are going in and out during the evenings. I'm not sure the progress. I was hoping Mr. Pagic was here today, but he's not. So, one, request the board waive the bond. Two, set it for status in 45 days, please.
45 days is all of April, half of May. May.
So, good news. The bond has been found, or they were able to get a bond. Mr. Farrell just updated us. So we don't need to waive the bond. All right, good news. And 45 days, please.
May 12th, May 19th, either one of those?
19th.
Okay. Then I will make a recommendation to set this over for status to May 19th, 2022.
And I'll concur.
Yeah, May 19th.
Thank you. Item B, under old business, rental appeals. 3837 Oak Crest Lane, 7150 Southeastern, 6602 Colorado, 259 Locust, and 6257 Holman, 2 units.
Yeah, I just used the one that you emailed me. No, he was,
You're okay.
go ahead,
Oh, Big Arrow.
So these properties are all owned by the same individual, and
Well, one was his son, but
well,
yeah.
Attorney Sorger and I have been working to get all the paperwork straightened out for them. There were some that qualified for affidavits. There were some that had some homestead tax exemptions that needed to be removed. I have received all the required and requested documentation for each property address. So the decisions are in front of you. As far as the years owed, I could run through those if the board would like to review them.
2021, all one unit, 2021, 2 units.
They all just for last year?
Correct, yeah, so the majority of them have a rental registration owed for last year, and then affidavits to account for previous years, and then just the homestead adjustments, which I have all the documentation Mr. Sorge has provided.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to waive the late fees for the listed properties. Sir, just make sure going forward that you make sure you register before April 15th of every year.
I will do.
Okay.
And I'll concur with that.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Registrations, and then we can have the process.
Okay.
That will do it. Okay, meeting's open to the public. Anyone here care to speak? Those that are waiting on, do you?
Well, I'm here, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
I just, I thought you mentioned Conkey Street, but I don't think it's at the right spot. I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, on my wife's behalf, she said if I come here, I definitely have to say this. We live on Wildwood Street, and it was one of the ones that they dead-ended, in the alley also.
Conkin Road? Conkin Road?
No, yeah, you're talking about something different. I think Conky's not. I'm actually talking about Conkey and Holman Avenue. Right, I know, I thought maybe, but I also heard some talk about whose duty it is to do the signage and things like that. Now it's changing a little bit. Anyway, there's the sign, our alley, when we go down the alley, we can only go one way down the alley, so obviously we can only go out.
Is that the one right there with that 2 or 4 unit right there?
Right.
To the south?
It's basically an intersection with
Right.
Holman Avenue. It used to have a light. It used to have a light there. It doesn't have a light anymore because it was made into a one-way alley.
It's
So
one way, because when State Line was curved, the alley now goes one way east,
Oh, it comes this way.
right?
no, actually, I mean, we have to use it both ways. There's just signage at the corner that says it's one way going west. So when we pull out of the alley, everybody thinks we're, of course, breaking the law because the sign is right there. It says one way, and it's the only way we can get out.
Just so I'm clear, this is the alley, if you're sitting right there at the light on Conkey, it's straight ahead of you.
Straight ahead,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
And there's no light there, so we gotta go
Right.
and kind of time the other light and watch about getting on. I think there just needs some attention to the signage at that corner. I mean, it really needs the light to be put back up again, where the light functions at that corner again.
Oh, I know
As
what
people are
Think of what we
pulling
could
out
do.
on the Holman Avenue.
I know
Move
what
the
you mean.
one-way sign? I mean, what?
Well, I'd probably refer it to engineering.
Okay.
To look at it, and then at some point, you have to, you'd probably be, either remove the one-way sign and put a stop sign there, or so somebody that's coming from, they're used to it because they live there.
Right.
But if somebody's not used to that alley
Right.
coming out, you could go
Right.
right out on
Hey.
Holman if there's no signage.
And there's a lot of bushes and
Gotcha.
that right there at the
From
corner.
Glendale
It's
Park,
really
yeah.
difficult
Yeah.
to get out at that spot. So it's a dangerous intersection at this point in time,
Okay.
and we get bad looks from people.
We'll take a look at it.
Which is,
Yeah.
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 okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we got to recommend?
What address?
We're gonna recommend that,
Refer that
the
to,
Conkey-Holman intersection, to engineering.
Yeah, it's the alley, right? The alley behind
The alley, it's on the west side of Holman.
alley to the north of Wildwood.
Mm-hmm.
And at Holman and Conkey to refer to engineering, take a look at the signage there.
Okay, then I'll make a recommendation to forward his request to engineering for their review and recommendation.
Dow concur. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, anyone else? Meeting's open to the public. Those who run a registration, just give us a minute. We'll make you your copy, and you can take care of your business as we adjourn.
I'll make a recommendation to adjourn the meeting.
And I'll concur.